Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown from the Caregiving Years Training Academy, and I've got two colleagues and friends with me here today, Jeni and Cynthia. Hi Jeni, hi Cynthia.
Hi.
Hello.
So they have a really interesting story, and that's why we're here today. So they connected because Jeni has been leading a caregiving support group, and Cynthia has been a member of that support group.
hmm
So they know each other in a supportive environment. What happened is they started thinking through what are the other opportunities for us to work together. And as they
hmm
had conversations about it, they actually came up with an idea and a plan and are working through to launch a small business to support family caregivers. So we're going to talk about how do you start a collaborative conversation and then how do you turn it into a business? Okay, so Jeni, let's start with you. Tell us about the origin of the conversation with Cynthia that led to, oh, we could do more.
Well, I think there are multiple conversations and multiple
Yes.
different moments. And Cynthia, please jump in here. We've been working together since 2021, and our stories mirrored each other, but they were separate. And we were talking during the support group, and there's multiple women involved in the support group, and we started growing. And soon those conversations went off out of the support group and onto almost a chat, and we started following each other. And through that chat, organically, we started noticing all these little opportunities where we were talking outside of caregiving. We started talking about a variety of different things. And Cynthia and I, we used that chat initially because when people would stop coming to the support group or would be gone for a few days, few calls, we'd be worried. And then it slowly but surely started talking about books, gardening, and all of these other opportunities. And we realized probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months in, there was this huge opportunity for us, yes, to support each other as caregivers, but as other individuals. And we have all these amazing support groups and communities about us being caregivers, but not so much as individuals.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that hit me anyway is that I don't know that we would have been able to do this before the Zoom movement,
Oh, absolutely.
because being so isolated and not being able to get out of the house while we're caregiving and not being able to do a lot of these things, we saw a need with the people in the support group that needed connection beyond the caregiving connection. So we're
Mhm.
stepping up and being able to do that, and it's pretty exciting.
It
So
is
then
exciting. Go
go,
ahead.
go for it, Jeni.
But the biggest piece that we realized is, for me personally, is every single one of us in that group had such a story underneath being a caregiver and brought so much to the table. Um, to use Cynthia has multiple different careers. She's done multiple different things. She has seen the world and done all of these things, which we knew nothing about. And that is where the name of our business came from, the story of a caregiver, is because their stories need to be told, and people will never understand until your struggles until they understand your story. And you need to find relatable points, and they need to see you as a common point, or a point. I guess I didn't say that quite right, but you understand hopefully what I'm saying. There has to be connection points, and it may not necessarily be caregiving. Maybe where you're from, that sort of thing.
So the name of the business is
Story of a caregiver.
The Story of a Caregiver, and tell us about the services that you'll offer.
Well, primarily right now we're doing mostly research or support. We have a Facebook page and a website that provide all different types of resources. We're creating blogs, we're supporting other communities, we are gathering other caregiver stories to be sharing. And hopefully we'll get to help get those published and help get those out there to share with other communities. And again, to stop that isolation and bring them together. Cynthia?
And yeah, and we want to create a safe place for people to tell their story in a way that's all about them and doesn't always have to be about caregiving, but it could be. And a place where they feel accepted and understood. Um, we want um, we want people to be able to submit their stories, and we want guest bloggers as well. So we want people to have a safe space where they can really represent who they are, how they got into caregiving, the ups and downs, and all the things that go with that.
Okay, so you're launching it as a business. So tell us about your revenue model.
Well, at the moment, we're still working on looking into some grants and that sort of thing at the moment. We are in the process of creating some different tools and that sort of thing from a digital perspective that people can use in that direction.
Yeah, so that, I'm sorry, Jenny.
No, please go ahead.
That might take a little bit. We
Mhm.
wanted to get something up and going now to support people. And then we might find out from them as well, what do they need from us? What tools can we create for them to help them? So we've got a lot of experience with what we needed, but we're not the be all end all. What do other people need? And how can we fill that gap for them?
And through that process, we have people that are coming in from all different angles of this. So we have people that are also joining the group that are from the medical side of it as well. I have some nurses that are coming in that are beta testing the process as well. They're sharing their insights to help us figure out these tools as well and moving forward. But ideally, we would also like to have the stories being published so we can share that as well and along that line. And that's the direction we're going. So it might start out more as it's a slow revenue model by all means, but it is organically starting to take off in that direction.
So you are collaborating together.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're forming a partnership.
Yes, we
So
are.
tell us how you have approached forming that partnership. So the partnership is both individually supportive and collectively supportive for both of you.
Well, there's legal documentation in place by all means. We're working with legalities around that and figuring out the LLC process because we're in different states, that sort of thing. And then we also, as we're going through this process, and Cynthia, I apologize, please step in here. We're pretty good at figuring out what each of us has strengths bring to the table. Cynthia has managed the website. That intimidates me to no end. And Cynthia had no fear. Just
And
jumping right in.
Jenny's so far has managed most of the Facebook, if not all the Facebook piece of that. It's a matter of finding balance between what we need and who can do what, and communication, making sure we're talking with each other and emailing and having a place in a cloud, have all the stuff that we're working on so that any kind of anything we create is accessible to both of us. And as Jeni said, we're working on paperwork, a partnership agreement paperwork, and that was never a concern from the beginning. It was a matter of maybe we should have this paperwork and this partnership stuff. And, contracts keep things clean, even though we are friends. And I have no concerns. It's still there. And for all sorts of reasons, we need that.
I think because we are friends, that's why we need it. That just takes so much of the pressure off of it all. We're both very big advocates for each other. I think we're almost hypersensitive. We want to make sure each other is taken care of.
Yes.
And we talk a lot about, copywriting and making sure we're all in the safe space and nothing goes out without each other's approval. That's really important. All of our content's approved by both of us. If somebody's not comfortable with something, we need to discuss it. Especially right now. It's a political world. We're not very politically involved, but we want to make sure everybody feels welcome in our community. So we definitely do a gut check on a lot of that information too. We want to make sure we have a very diverse group and we're really grateful for that. So we want to make sure we keep that. we check in with each other on that as well.
And regular meetings.
Oh,
Here's where we are. Here's where we need to go. Making a to-do list and who's going to do what, and then literally checking it off on that to-do list, saying, okay, we got that done. What's next?
but the beauty is we both still are in some form of caregiving. Are still managing. We're still in the grief process. We both just lost our parents within the last year. We both have children, very busy lives. So we have that understanding of, and the freedom to say, I'm not quite ready. I did my best to get this done, but I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. So we have the grace for one another.
Absolutely.
Tremendously.
Because we're human and human things happen. And so we have to give each other that grace. And I'm glad we can, because it doesn't always happen in every business model.
And we bring that to our community as well. We have people working and helping us within our community that have the same challenges. And that's really important.
Okay, so December 20th, 2024, I check in with you. I say, how has the last year been for you? And you tell me, what have you done? What have you accomplished?
What have we accomplished, or what have I accomplished? Goodness, so many things. When my dad died, I joined a grief group through the hospice center, and almost a year to the day on my dad's anniversary, they announced that they were going to stop the grief group because everybody'd been in the group for a year, so it was time, and she was retiring. All great. And so there was a need for these people to stay together. So I helped create that grief group so that we can continue to meet and to have support for each other.
That was a huge catalyst on what really pushed us forward to keep moving this process along. I would say before we even had the revenue model in place, we knew we had to have the support in place.
Yes.
So we started a community to make sure we had that support put in place.
Yeah. And that grief group is part of our website. And Jeni has created a couple of other support groups that we are going to have on there.
So I would definitely say in 2024, we will have multiple groups set up to support our caregivers.
Yes.
I also think by then we will have a place in the marketplace, tools in place that we will be put in place on two levels, hopefully. One, to support the caregiver in their day-to-day basis, but hopefully one that they can use, tools that they can use to take to their physicians. And I guess I look at those as twofold. Those are tools for the physicians and for the caregiver and the caree. So they have tools in place that they can take with them to manage that as well. Just
2024 is going to be exciting.
Yes, a lot of developments that we're in the process of hoping to have launched, and a lot of collaboration. We're collaborating with you, as you know, with the listening project we're working with, and a couple of other different caregiving support groups that we were hoping to work with as well. But this 2024 is hopefully our big foundation year to start building that.
I'm curious, how do you envision your tools and the form that they take?
Well, it's going to depend on the tool and depend on what people need. We would like to have some apps, phone apps that people can utilize, and some fillable, downloadable documents that people can use. That's going to take some technology understanding that maybe we don't have right now, but we're working on that.
We have some connections, at least with the apps, and then definitely on the printables. That seems to be, from what we're hearing, what people want. Things that forms that they can fill out, print off, and take with them. And those sorts of tools as well.
So what would be an example of a fillable form?
One of the tools we're working at right now is potentially having a forum where people can hand off. Like, so many people want to say, well, let me know how I can help you. Give me a call. I'm here if you need anything, please reach out. It's actually a tangible punch list of people. This is what you could do to help us right now. I would really appreciate if you could pick up the groceries, if you could do this, if you could do that. That's one of the big tools that we're hearing people need. As all of us know, as caregivers, we're so overwhelmed. It's really great when the neighbor says, hey, if you need anything, let me know. But you're always at that, oh, I'm fine, or I'm just too overwhelmed to ask. Or we have a family member, well, I'm happy to help. If you have something, you can just hand to them and say, these are things that would be really helpful. From a medical perspective, I was just recently speaking with a nurse, and she was telling me, this conversation we had last week, if you can go into the ER and hand them a piece of paper that they can just, one page, minimal 5 facts that they need to know, that you can have with you, and you hand it to them when they walk in, and you keep it with them, so you hand it to every person that they see, so it doesn't get lost. They find that very beneficial as well. What does that look like? That sort of thing, creating those types of tools.
So very practical.
Very.
And practical, and also actually achieving something. So as a result of
Absolutely.
someone receiving the to-do list, something will be done. As a result of emergency room staff receiving a one-pager, they'll have an understanding of what a caree's medical history is and what they might need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and with a little, hopefully not too much effort on the caregiver's side. Once it's done, maybe it needs updating, but it's done, and they don't have to regurgitate that information over and over and over again. Hand it off, you're good to go, because they've got enough to deal with. Let's make it easier for them.
And then we have some fun things too. So many people joke about how we hide in our cars.
Mm-hmm.
So being in our cars, car kits. What would we need if we wanted to set in our car? Emergency room kits, phone chargers, blankets, those kinds of things that you can actually help have with you. And those are even to-do list just down and fun gifts or things that people could do and create on their own.
So what advice would you give to a couple of friends who think, you know what, I think we could really go in business together? What would you suggest they do in terms of next steps?
One thing is to make sure that most of your values line up. If your values are too far apart, it might be a little difficult to get to where you need to be.
I also think we've making sure that you're both in the same place. I think there's a lot of good intention that people want to join in, but we just happen to be perfectly aligned that this was something we were both very passionate about, and we're both in the place in our lives that we have the time and energy to dedicate to it.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of good intention and people want to donate a lot of time, but there is so much time that goes into this that people don't realize. So you want to make sure that you guys really understand the time it's going to take. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more advice in 2024 as this is all coming together, but it does take a lot of time and energy, and be really prepared to dedicate it.
Okay.
And revenue, I guess, as well. I mean, I think really understanding that you're going to sweat equity, and there will be financial pieces to it. Startup costs. I mean, as minimally as setting up a Facebook page and Zoom and all of those things, there's costs to it all, and legal fees and LLCs and all of that.
And buying your domain name and paying for the website domain, and there are things.
Right. And go ahead, Cynthia, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So there's just those things that you don't necessarily anticipate when you're, sitting around the coffee table. And so making sure you both are comfortable with them sharing those costs, or who's going to share those costs. We've been very 50-50, so that was we're both in that space.
Okay. Jeni and Cynthia, thank you for being with us. Okay, so
Thank
tell
you.
us how our viewers and listeners can learn more.
Well, as of the first, we should be completely live.
Yes,
I like Murphy Law and everything. It'll be story at a caregiver.care.
yes. Storyofacaregiver.care.
And then we have the Facebook page under the same name and the Instagram as well. And we should be on LinkedIn by then as well, as of the 1st, January 1st. We're database testing a lot of it right now. And we're hoping to be very, very much database testing it by the end of today.
Okay.
Yes. And hopefully we have something that we can fill a gap for somebody. So please, please also let us know if we're missing something on our webpage and our Facebook page. If you need something from us, we'll do our best.
Absolutely. That is what we're here for. And to collaborate with others.
Absolutely.
There's
Yes.
a huge opportunity for this. That's really one of the biggest pieces. We want to collaborate with other caregiver communities to help support everybody. This is too big of a need and too isolating for our caregivers. So if we can't help them, hopefully we can find somebody who can.
Okay. Jeni
Yeah.
and Cynthia, thank you guys
Thank
so
you,
much.
thank you for giving us this opportunity,
you.
Denise. We really,
Yeah.
really appreciate you.
Yeah, and we look forward to hearing your updates throughout 2024.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody for watching and listening.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much. We look forward to seeing everyone.